Hello and welcome to the New Year's Eve of the fiscal year meeting of the Finance Committee, the June 30th meeting at the last day of the fiscal 2021, pursuant to the Governor's June 16th, 2021 Act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Paragraph 20. The Finance Committee will be using remote participation for this meeting. The audio of this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the town's webpage within 24 hours in accordance with keeping the public informed of actions during this meeting. I would ask that all participants remotely attending this meeting please state your name for identification purposes each time you speak throughout the meeting. At this time, a roll call attendance vote will be taken. Mr. Whitaker.
Present.
Ms. Ziemer.
Here.
Mr. Alfred.
Here.
Mr. Robinson.
Present.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
And Mr. Sheda is here as well. So we are now officially convened. In terms of item number 1 on our agenda, I do not have the minutes ready yet. That's my fault. It's been a very hectic month having 2 children graduating, so I haven't had a chance to go through them. I will get to them most likely this holiday weekend while everybody's watching fireworks. I'll be editing minutes, so we'll have those for our next meeting. Next up on our agenda is what we're really all here for, which is the FY21 end of year line item transfers. Now, all of you have gotten, I sent out the email and forwarded from Travis with the list of transfers. These have all been reviewed by Travis and he's fine with all of them. They've all been reviewed by Sharon and she's fine with them. In fact, she's the one that determined they were all necessary. So we should be able to just handle these with Travis. So let's just start. I'm trying to think. I didn't look at the paperwork, Travis, to see if you gave them to me in order on the spreadsheet. But I'll try.
Can I ask what are
Go ahead.
what does the red signify?
Okay, the red signifies transfers between budgets. All the other, except for those 4 that are transfers between budgets, meaning the request is to move money from one budget to another. The rest of these line item transfers are all within the same budget.
Okay.
So they're things like moving, office supplies to communications or something within a budget. Those 4 involve moving money from one budget to another. So we'll get to those 4. Obviously, they're down on the list, so we'll get to those eventually. We'll talk about the details then. Okay, so hopefully this is in the right order. I think they are. So first up on the list is $650. Yes, this is the one. Okay, $650 for office supplies and 2 chairs. And that's what the explanation says from the select board. Again, this is within the select board budget, from professional and technical to office supplies for $650 for office supplies and new office chairs. Travis.
Yeah, so that one, I was trying to stay within the $300. We got through that because of toner. And then Sharon was indicating to me, her recommendation was for me to stop sitting on the chair that can't hold my weight. And I hit the floor by the end of the day. We had a similar chair like that as well in the office. And so in moving these, it was the recommendation to get that done in 21 because the budget for 22 is increased to I believe we increased it from 300 to 600 for office supplies, knowing we're going to have some needs with the new ATA, but to get these out of the way. So we did that. The toner was the other thing, but I think I realized early on the 300 for office supplies was not going to cut it. And so we did make some adjustments to the 22 budget. So we're all set there, but this is end of year 21.
Okay. Any other questions for Travis? Oh, hold on. Let me get Iris in here. She just showed up.
So a block was not accepted. You couldn't just put yourself up on a block so that when you fell down, you're actually up.
Well, I was going to say, would it be cheaper to get a wellness program? Would it be cheaper to fund a wellness program so lighten up a little bit so you don't,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
No, I've tried a couple things, but it's time for them to be replaced. So.
Okay. So anybody have any questions about this transfer? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve a line item transfer. And I'll do everybody the favor of reading them myself this year since I have the paperwork right in front of me. From Select Board Professional and Technical Organization 01122, Object 53,000, to Office Supplies Organization 01122, Object 54,200 in the amount of $650.
Moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that transfer? Okay. Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. So don't mute yourself, Mark. Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Ms. Zemer,
Yes.
Mr. Alford,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Sobchak.
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes. So this one's all set.
Ken, do we have to go through every single one and then do a roll call vote? Can we just?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's the requirement of the law, right? So, or are you saying, can we just batch approve everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can try that. I suppose we can do that. So,
So
I mean, Ken, no one, like, does anyone have any concerns about any of these numbers? Because, we don't want to.
The only thing I would have a question about is regarding ballot coding and absentee postage. I'm wondering if the COVID monies.
okay, well, we want to do them all at once. Here's what we can do. I will read you, because I don't know, I have more detail on the sheet. So for each transfer, I will read you the explanation. I'll go through every transfer. Then Travis, if anybody has questions on any of them, you can ask Travis and he can fill in the details.
Okay.
So the next one was for a phone bill for the accountant, and that is basically because their phone bill was higher than the amount budgeted. That's what it says. Monthly phone bill was higher than the amount budgeted. And I will tell you, just as a side note, Sharon did say to me when I saw her today that no, this is not because of the issue we had with the phones. This was just they used the phones more than they expected. So, okay, that's that one. The next one, which is the phone bill and the physical, literally says physical for a new employee and higher telephone bills. Okay, that's the explanation on that one. Okay. The next one, which was the other town clerk one, says dog tags and toner, which I guess is in the explanation there. So Sharon was being extremely brief this year. Let's see, this one says ballot coding. So that, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna read them if they say the same thing. So I'll just tell you if they say anything different. This is absentee postage, paper towels and trash bags and water. So this one, the public building one says water too, for some reason. 56 classes, structural repairs, software licenses, and annual maintenance fee. That's what it says for that one. Next one says uniform and equipment for officers, which that says there. This says uniform and equipment for officers. Then this says medical supplies ordered in June for the fire ambulance one. And they are in order, so you should just be following along on the table. Safety portal maintenance fee is what it says. Monthly mileage reimbursements. 2 late bills submitted after ATM transfer. Okay. We'll talk about that one. These are the other ones. Okay. 2 rooftop exhaust fans. That's there. Part-time salaries to cover maternity leave. Yep. Okay. Repairs to smart circular pump. Okay. Yeah. So the explanations are basically everything that's listed. There's no more color on any of these sheets than what's listed there. So, okay. So then I guess I'll ask the question. Anybody just ask? Go ahead, Travis.
I was just going to put a sort of blanket statement out here for context. So as Ken said, I think right before Iris came in, so the 4 in red are because they're moving from one budget to another. The rest are just moving buckets within that departmental budget. I would say, the change that we discussed in the 22 process where, we're going to keep an eye on all line items moving forward, but we voted in, I keep saying larger buckets. That's how I think about it. But, in larger components that we won't have to move between in FY22, and we'll just sort of have a discussion on it, but not need to do this motion to move from one to office supplies, for example. We'll take care of, I would say, for example, probably 14 of these 18. I'll say 13 of these 18, because certainly the ones in red are ones that would most likely not be caught and wouldn't be changed by the way that we voted the budget in 22 as opposed to 21. And then also the police budget was a sizable thing. I think we've been discussing it as a group for at least 6 months now, at least the structural repairs in the garage, why it wasn't covered by Maya, those types of things. So I'd say probably 5 of these. Otherwise, they're all basically, with the new way that we voted in 22, won't be necessary for you to be taking votes on next year, and we'll just be reporting it to you that, these things were kind of above the lines that we had originally voted, and have a discussion on that and use that to adjust anything moving forward. But I just wanted to add that context.
Okay. The one thing I was going to mention, Travis, was, one of the conversations we have every year, which we kind of had last year, but it was in the middle of COVID, is making sure that things that are like something like the chairs, for example, that's a one-time thing. You don't buy chairs every year necessarily, right? But other things of these that reflect run rate deltas, please make sure that they get back into the budgets that we look at for 23, right? When we start the budget process for 23, we want to make sure that, so we're not, even though it won't be as much of an administrative hassle next year, we still want to make sure that we're going to be looking at the budgets line by line. So we want them to reflect what we really think is going to happen in those budgets. So just make sure that these things get fed back into, any operating things here get fed back into the budget models for, the budget present that we get for FY23. So.
Absolutely. And I know it's a headache to do these. And what I don't like, because, you will see this in some towns, is, well, I don't need a transfer if I just charge it to this bucket that I do have money in, and you're charging something. And then it's difficult for us as a group, the finance committee, the select board, my staff, to look at historically where things are being charged if they just start charging it incorrect. So exactly. I know it's a hassle to have it this way, but this is the way, especially in the way that we voted the 21 budget, where things get reflected properly. So we have that information. So I apologize for the hassle, but no, it's a good point, and I will make sure that.
Yeah, believe me, we don't mind the hassle. It's just more that it's just, as I said, it's just that some things we see the same transfer year after year, and we kept saying, why we keep saying this, if the budget is structurally wrong, we should let's fix it when we go through the budget process. So anyway, okay, Ms. Zemer, you had a question. You had your hand up.
Yep. Why was the police budget $56,000 over in salaries?
Yeah, so that's just the sort of largest staffing component. So we've had retirees. We've had we lost an officer to another town. We did a hiring process. We did that interview probably 2 months ago. Identified 3 candidates for various reasons. None of them ended up taking the position. So that hits the OT budget, but the actual line of that employee was not filled with a body. We've been trying to fill that. We have 2 offers out from the latest round, contingent on a variety of things, but we've just had a vacancy there. We see it too in DPW. We had a lot of vacancies in DPW this year, but that's the reason in police. And so, when we discussed what happened in the garage with the structural issue that wasn't covered by Maya, which I still don't like, but that we didn't think at the time it was going to be necessary to go outside of their budget. They'd be able to cover it. That's the reason why that we were tracking this surplus. Yeah,
just to be clear, Michelle, I don't know. I interpreted your statement a different way at first, so I just want to make sure that everybody else understands. Technically speaking, I wouldn't say they over budgeted, but they're transferring from the salary. So this is not, they need more money for salaries.
But it was vacancies. It wasn't.
Yes, it was vacancies.
It wasn't over time that wasn't used or anything like that. It was the budget was right sized. It was just vacancies.
Right. Yeah. So we planned on full head count, and we did not have full head count.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Robinson.
Sorry, I'm trying to move slow. Maybe in the new guy question. So the 56K, and Ken, if this isn't appropriate, just cut me off.
Stop. No, just kidding.
Careful what you ask for. Is most of that 56K like the structural repairs, or like is it software licenses too? Because I was thinking the next thing I was thinking, Ken, is if it's a software license, was it SaaS or was it a one-time? Because if it's a SaaS software, then it's got to go into your your operating budget. So it just it's the only thing I looked at on the sheet is 56K. Everything else to me is the minimum.
Okay, so Travis can give you the breakdown of where that was, but a big chunk of that was the repair work, and then and from a software perspective, right? I'll just tell you as a matter, the way we treat things is we do exactly that. When someone comes to us and says we want to buy software, we say how much is it cost? Is it annual license fee? Is there support? And we make sure that goes into the budget. So it shouldn't be that issue. But Travis, go ahead and give us the breakdown.
No, it's a great point. So the software maintenance issue, we also were tracking and was fully part of the conversation that the FinCom had on their 22 budget. So the 22 budget should not see any issue from this. All of that's factored in, but it was part of what needs to be moved from one bucket to another in the 21 budget. So there's no concern that I have going into 22 with the cost for software here, and the majority and the biggest chunk that sort of was unanticipated And we had looked at a variety of ways that we may cover it, including the reserve fund. At the end of the day, they're able to cover it in their own budget, so that's how we're doing it. But the majority here is the issue that we had in the garage.
All right, that's
Right.
clear. Thank you.
There was repair work that was needed in the garage. That's what he means by structural repairs. So,
Gotcha. Thank you.
okay, Mr. Whitaker.
Thank you. So I'm just curious that Travis, on the what is it? The monthly mileage reimbursement, $1,600. Where are they going?
So James Keast is on, but this is a touchy subject, so I'm going to take it. We had the facilities manager is supposed to have a vehicle that was part of the job description. It was part of all these things. We had it in the capital plan. We got it in the budget. The money is appropriated. Everybody is supportive of the facilities manager having a vehicle. And I don't know if anybody has tried to buy a vehicle recently. I am finishing a purchase tomorrow after a very long, prolonged experience. It's very difficult to find vehicles right now due to a chip shortage. This is something that is, if you're in the market, you'll know. The vehicle that we determined for James Keast was a Jeep vehicle that was on the list through the green communities, all these different things. I personally made the mistake of identifying, which I should not have done, the proprietary information in the vote that town meeting took, which is to say that we are going to buy a Jeep that we told town meeting we were going to buy, and we didn't say an SUV. And so that makes it a little bit more difficult. The Jeep specifically is we just can't get. So we have identified potentially going to a different vendor, but it's all through the state contract. And so at the end of the day, he's using a personal vehicle and charging the town. That's the way that we do it, which is, other people choose to do. In this instance, we preferred that we had a town vehicle with a decal on the side for the facility manager, and this was not planned.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now, Mr. Robinson, is there a question related to what he just asked?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll let you go now then.
Yeah. So what about, and I'm sorry, I haven't seen them lately, the 2 electric cars, are those available to be used?
Yeah, so we do use that. I believe James actually took it the other day. The most common use of those vehicles is for 2 departments, the building inspector that hits the road the most, and then the assessors who hit the road the most. There was a period of time where the assessors were not using it when they had a vacancy. They now have their new assistant assessors started and is using the vehicle. So they're both in use. But yes, James did use it the other day. It's just that, we have more use for those 2 than we have. So we had identified the need for the vehicle for the facilities manager in addition to those. But we do use it as much as possible for that.
Is that the 20,000 that was I was reading the capital, the CIP document you sent, and I thought it was like 20K.
Yes.
So if there's a chip shortage, are we even going to be able to afford the vehicle? Like,
It's just to give you a little background, Jay, all vehicle purchases are through what we call, basically the state has pre-negotiated prices and vendors. So we don't have the option, like we don't have the option of negotiating the price per se, and they don't have the option of negotiating the price with us, right? It's a state bid. The state accepts bids from dealerships that are willing to sell us vehicles at a given price, and they take that, and that becomes the bid price for. I don't know how they refresh the list, but we don't have to worry about that in the sense that our price is set by their contract with the state.
So that 20K, like it just jumped out at me, 20K for an SUV for facilities. I'm like, well, where are you finding an SUV for 20K, especially what Travis says? And I didn't even think about it stepping in this meeting until Mark mentioned that we're paying monthly mileage. And I'm just thinking more bigger picture that we have the money to buy a new car or a car for him?
Yeah.
Because you're saying it's negotiated. All right.
Yeah, it's hard. When we a lot of the times when we approve money or bring requests to town meeting, recommendations for purchases, for vehicles especially, we already know the price because it's by the state contract.
Got it. Thank you.
So, yeah.
A quick follow-up, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Whitaker.
For the mileage, do we get to take that as a deduction at some point in time, or is that just kind of like, so? For instance, I know that that the company I work for, when they pay me mileage, they can then write it off in turn. So I'm just kind of curious if the town can do that as well, or is that just kind of crazy?
Town doesn't get taxed.
I was going to say, since we don't pay tax, I don't think we can write it off.
So,
Well, maybe we get an extra bonus. I don't know.
It's like there's no depreciation.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're under depreciated. No, just kidding.
So we essentially pay the IRS mileage rate, and Sharon, everybody does it a little differently. Sharon requires the sheets to be brought in, goes through it. They pushes back. So that's the review of mileage.
Okay, everybody done with the mileage? Okay, Mr. Murphy.
I got a few questions. One being the 2 election stuff, ballot coding and absentee postage. Why isn't the COVID monies being picked up paying for those things?
Yeah, I mean, so I think let's just talk a little holistically here on CARES in general. So first of all, I was going to cover later on that we can get into ARPA a little bit, at least preparing for it. But the CARES, some of these, for example, solid waste is not on here. It's one of the conversations that we had about whether or not to do solid waste through CARES, but this is another one, right? The election budget can cover, it's just moving within the election budget to cover the costs that they had for the election. There's certainly things that we could probably classify, right? And so if we do it this way, if we do it through CARES, then the budget is turning back and going to free cash. If we do it this way, then money is staying in CARES for the similar purposes. I mean, we're moving in these instances on smaller dollars, change around in the bowl to a certain extent. I would say essentially the election budget can cover the election costs. We have charged some of the things that they did above and beyond what they had planned to CARES. So certainly there have been election costs charged to CARES. But I think that these ones can be covered within their own budget. And so it sort of made sense to do that.
So we don't see a problem with spending all the CARES money.
I mean, due to the timeline that has actually advanced. So first they kicked it to December, now they've advanced it to October. And the incoming ARPA, I think we can have that conversation. But then also the school committee yesterday took a relatively sizable vote request, which I have not put in front of the select board yet, which would essentially use, at the very least, if all were approved, the remaining balance of CARES.
Okay. The next question is regarding the Ox Police, the uniforms. Do we have new auxiliary police getting hired or getting added to the roles?
Yeah, so that's all under Lieutenant Larini, and he did send me a quote at my request just so I could understand it. And it was really just in, some of the things that they planned on doing. They would have preferred to make sure that they had some update to some outdated equipment and uniforms. It was really a kind of decision that they were looking to make.
So it's not adding, it's just replacing the uniforms of the auxiliary police? Okay. And what kind of structural repairs and how much did it end up costing over there at the garage?
At the garage. I can give you the final quote. Let me get that.
I was just curious. It's just a lot of money, so that's why.
Yeah, so I don't know. You'll recall, I think James gave you guys, I think at some point he gave you like a full report, the select board as well. And essentially at the end of the day, the cause of the structural repair that needed to be reinforced with a plate, they determined it to be sort of outside of the scope of our insurance policy. Believe me, we went back and forth quite a bit. And I think that was in the report that he gave you previously. So let me dig that up, but then I'll just make sure that you have the absolute total of what happened as well.
And remind me what the other software was. That one of the ones? What is the software that makes up that 56? The split between the two. What kind of software did he buy?
Yeah, I actually don't have that in front of me. Ken, do you have on that sheet that Sharon had?
Yeah, I can look it up while we're. I'm pretty
I know
sure
you
it was something with
mentioned-
the door. I think it was either the doors or some booking software or something like that.
Yeah, we've had so many IT. So actually, there's quite a few IT things that just got done in May for them. But yeah, there's been a couple, whether it be the doors that needed to be updated for their certification, accreditation, excuse me. They have software now for the electronic signboards, although that was wrapped into that capital.
Yes.
The phones, Chris has been over there on the phones. I have a feeling it's the phone related one, but I'd have to check my notes.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thank you.
And again, I mean, the only thing that I was asking to confirm was to make sure that all of these, the conversations that we had around their budget for 22, there is no, to Jay's original question, that this is not planned for in 23.
Yep.
The ones that we've been tracking all along.
Good.
Is there anything on, Ken?
That's it for me for now.
I don't have to find it here, but anyway. Okay, so you have anything else, Ben? I'll
not.
keep looking on the software.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Nope,
Okay,
that's it.
Ms. Zimmer.
I was just wondering, do all employees need physicals?
So what we've done is we do for anybody permanent, part-time, or greater. We do not do seasonal unless we have an issue. But generally speaking, permanent, part-time, or greater, we go through Teamworks in Milford, and we will do, generally speaking, a Corey as well on everybody for consistency.
Thank you.
There has been discussion at the state level based on new cannabis regulations if we should be changing sort of the drug testing. But at this point, municipalities have pretty much stayed the course. At the end of the day, we're an employer, and just because marijuana is legal does not change us as a employer having the ability to require our employees to not use that substance.
I still can't find it. I know I've got it somewhere in here, but I can't find it. I'll keep looking. But okay. So, any other questions on any of these items? Just as an FYI, just an administrative thing, and I already talked to Travis about this, exchanged email with him about it. Technically speaking, the select board does not oversee all of these, right? The libraries come from the library trustees, et cetera. The library trustees are not meeting again until September, but they have been informed of these transfers, and my understanding is that they are unofficially okay with it in the sense that they're not, because they're not going to meet, they just said, yeah, it's fine. So, okay, any other questions? And as I said, I'll keep digging on the software thing for you then, but if there are no other questions and everybody's good with approval, I can start making a very long motion.
We will need 2 motions technically.
Okay, I'll separate that. I'll separate those 2 out.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me before I read the whole thing.
I just didn't want to violate any, ethics rules.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to read the world's longest motion, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So let's see. We did one, which was the 650. So that one's already done. Okay.
You want to put it on the screen, Ken, and you could vote as shown less something something?
Yes.
Well, the thing is, if we're going to vote them all at once, you'd have to like show each one. If you want to do that,
show the whole
one.
thing.
He's got the only one we've already voted on is the top one. So you just don't, we say,
Oh,
okay,
you mean the spreadsheet? Yeah, okay. Because I guess it does have all the information on there. Okay, fine.
Follow the bouncing ball.
Justin, can you give me screen sharing, please?
Oh, here, I can give it to you.
Except for library.
Right. You got to take off the bottom 2 for Dan, the first
Yes.
one because you voted it. So
Okay,
it'll still be a funky motion.
There you go. You got it now, Travis.
Thank you. Here you go.
Okay, so the motion would be to recommend all the transfers listed in this table, except for line 1 from the select board for $650, and the bottom 2 lines for the library. So lines 2 through Youth and Family Services to approve the transfers as shown here.
so moved. Oh, damn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on those transfers? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote, which now is complicated by the fact that I don't see everybody. Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Zimmer,
Yes.
Mr. Alfred,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Sobchak.
Yes.
And by the way, I apologize. Am I saying it right? Is it Sobchak or Sobchak? I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing
Sobchak.
it. Okay, thank you.
Subject, yeah.
Okay, and Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, so all those transfers are approved. So now we just have the bottom two, and this would be a motion to approve the two line item transfers for the library as shown in the table. One in the amount of $2,700 and the other in the amount of $730, as detailed with the
So
from and
moved.
to columns in the column.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on those two? Okay, hearing none, proceed to a vote. Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Zemer?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson? Gotta wait for him to unmute.
Sorry. Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Sobchak?
Yes.
Mr. Alfred?
Abstain.
Okay, and I vote yes, so that carries with one abstention. Okay, so we've now transferred everything we need to transfer, which is a nice, neat way to close up the fiscal year. Anybody have anything else on the transfers? I guess not, because we just voted them all. So let's move on to our next item. Yes, Mr. Ahern.
Sharon, indicate that we may have a need for you all.
Yes. Okay. So good. Thank you for bringing that up. I should have mentioned that. So just so you know, I was going to put this under item 4, which is our future meeting schedule. Now that you're necessitating one, our superpowers end July 15th, and Sharon and Travis have made me aware today that there is likely going to be a transfer needed for solid waste, because we have not yet gotten the final accounting from Wheelabrator and Harvey. But that now they are investigating, to Vin's point earlier. Travis has been looking at CARES application of funds with regards to the increase in tonnage due to people being home and so forth. So that's under investigation, but it is likely, at least in their opinion, that we will see a transfer for that, which means, and we'll talk about this under item 4, that we're going to have to meet one more time before July 15th. So, okay. But we'll talk about that scheduling under item 4. But we will see, we do have one more transfer we're going to need to meet to take care of. Okay, liaisons. Let's, and as I said, the point of tonight, just from especially for our new members, right? We have the liaison system that we use, and what that really means is we assign to pretty much everything that has a financial component to it. We assign someone, one or more members of the finance committee, to be the liaison to that item, that department, that committee, whatever. And the real purpose of that is to allow for a mechanism to facilitate communication between the department or item with the finance committee. Really what its primary purpose is to make sure that any budgetary issues get brought to the finance committee through liaison system. If there are any issues coming up, that need to be raised to the whole committee. And also when we get to the budget later in the year, to work with them. And of course, obviously Travis is is a huge part of that, to work with them on any budget preparation. In general, when you look at the town's budget, the schools are number 1, and then the select board budgets, some of them are right behind that in terms of, do you have things like DPW, police, there are several budgets that are pretty significant in there, and then it falls off very rapidly into a bunch of, I wouldn't say small budgets, but as a percentage-wise, smaller budgets. So the general way we handle the liaison system is new members are assigned to what we call the quote-unquote easier budgets, the less intense ones that may require less experience, less understanding of how it works. And then once you get familiar with the liaison system and how you get comfortable understanding our, not just our role, but how the whole process works. Typically, after you've walked through a whole budget cycle and you understand it all, then we typically move you on to more advanced assignments and so forth and so on. So anyway, what happens is, as the chair, I make the final assignments. I try to go through this process every year where I ask everybody what they'd like to be on, whether they're happy with the assignments they have. We have this discussion. I take notes, and then I try to do my best to match the discussion with the assignments. So there's no guarantees of anything, because we can't have, and just as a reminder, this is a liaison system, so it's not subcommittees or anything like that, which is why we're limited to the number of members that can be liaisons for any given department, because we can't form a quorum with liaisons. So, okay. So first, before we get to the new stuff, the new members, for the current members, are there assignments that people are looking to change, modify, they're happy with, they're very unhappy with? Speak now so I can make notes of what might want to be changed. Okay, Mr. Murphy.
I want to reiterate what I said last year, though nobody was there, but I will take the schools. We need to change up. Somebody needs to move off, just because we've had the same three for 6 years, at least during my 6 years.
And as Vin and I've talked a little bit about this, I like being liaison to the schools, but I also think that, fair is fair, and Vin, should be given the opportunity. So I'm going to, just to put it off of you two, you and Michelle, I'm going to not allow Vin to be chair, but I'm going to withdraw my request to be a member.
School liaison. Okay. Okay. Any other veteran assignments that?
I'd like to be added to parks for Sue, in place of Sue.
Okay.
And then one thing I'd like to, I'm going to talk with Ben a little bit about it, some way, just whether I join the capital committee or something like that, depending on whether he still wants to be on that or. But that's not a liaison thing, so it doesn't need to be dealt with through this process, and it's not one for the other either. So. Yep.
Okay. Now keep in mind that, just as an FYI, right? Because Sue and Tim, among the vets, some of that will get distributed to the new members. Some of that will get distributed to us, depending, because they were on some higher level assignments, and then some of the assignments that we have that were easier assignments, I'll move to the new members. So everybody will see some shifting occurring, but the major ones, I think we'll.
I wouldn't mind fire and ambulance, and I'd ask for TAC, but I think Tina would kill me. And Travis,
I think I might just put you on TAC just because I think that would be tremendously entertaining.
But then I'm not asking for it. So if you happen to put me on TAC, then
Yeah. Yes. Well, Tim was on TAC, so so we do have a vacancy there. Okay. Now, among the two, Jay and Iris, are there any things that, again, I'll tell you right now, I'm not gonna put you onto the big budgets yet, because you have to walk through the process, I think, and that's, there's a lot of education you'll get in the first year of walking through a budget. But are there things that interest you in terms of departments you would really want to see or be a part of?
Yeah, ladies first.
I don't have a particular interest in anything. I mean, I don't know where you need me.
Okay, great. Jay?
Yeah, so when I looked through the list, Ken, I actually was interested in the tech, especially with my background. I was hoping I could.
That the requirement of being, if I put you on TAC, that the requirement is that you have to vote no on every new sign request.
On every new what?
Just kidding.
He said tech.
Oh, TAC. Okay, I thought you said TAC, like this. Okay, he doesn't know the story. Okay, so that's good. Go ahead, Jay.
Keith Tech? Is that what you meant?
No. Technology. Sorry, technology.
Okay.
Oh.
Technology. So I would want to work with Dan on. Dan, were you serious, Dan? You want no?
No, I'm talking about TAC.
Dan was talking about the Traffic Advisory Committee, TAC.
Okay.
That's what the confusion was.
Okay, the technology line with Chris Mayo, Parks. That's where I was confused. Sorry, Dan, you said Parks, right?
That's it, Parks.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the list, and there's two of them, so two names there.
Yeah, so that would actually be fine to have you and Dan.
Yeah, so
again, I have to look at the assignments and balance them out.
Mark is the current liaison, so I just didn't want
to
let him voice his opinion.
Oh, my bad. I'm looking at.
No. You should say what you want. I'm just.
No, say what you want. That's why I said this. As I said, I just want to know all the requests, and then I try to get my best.
Rail trail based on like my exposure to it. And then, because I'm a glutton for punishment, the golf course advisory, since I've worked with Deb Moore and have some pretty decent insight into the facility. And you said like even Keefe Tech would be out of bounds for a newbie.
Keefe Tech is a weird one because there's really, I don't know if I'd have to think about whether it'd be out of bounds for a newbie, but the real interaction with Keefe Tech is that because Keefe Tech is a voc tech district school, regional school, it has its own school committee, right? So there's a Keefe Tech school committee that actually does all the work. The liaison role from our perspective is we're one of 5 member towns. So there really isn't, it's kind of weird. We have a liaison, but the liaison is usually just communicating with the superintendent when he says, we got a budget ready and we're ready to present it. Because
there's not much to it. Is that the short of it? There's not much to
There's not much to it, right.
Okay.
Framingham drives the whole process.
Yeah, because again, just to put it in perspective for you, it's 5 member towns. Framingham and Natick by far are the 2 biggest components of Keefe. So they have a much greater interest in driving that budget because we pay just a small fraction of it as our small assessment for the few students we send there. So that's why I said in the end, Keefe comes and presents to us, but we are not the one. We have 10 people from 2 other towns that are beating on them senseless.
Okay, all right. It sounds like it's not. Yeah. All right, so I'll pass. And then is select board one of the bigger ones, Ken?
You could do select board. That's fine. I mean, again, I don't know. I think Vin's on it now, right? Are you doing it, Vin, or who's select board?
I am technically.
I mean, the only reason I'm not looking at it is because I'm taking notes, so I don't have the list in front of me right up.
No, I have no problems. I mean, you just have to really go to a lot of the meetings to get a sense, because you actually need to speak and when they ask questions and what's going on. But Travis has been very good. So it's less as it was previously on the previous town administrator. We'll leave it like that.
So Travis would tell you what meetings that you're needed.
You got to go to every one.
No, you don't. You can look at the agenda and see, this is something I need to worry about, or they're going to be talking about this. But they're supposed to come to you, but they have a representative liaison who comes to our meeting, Ben, and now it's Ben. It was Tina last year, so it's just making sure.
I'm sure Ben and I could work it out, right?
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll tell you, that's why I said from a select board perspective, really that role is what Vin said, which is keeping an eye on their agendas, making sure because the FinCom and the select board are so kind of intermingled in other ways dealing with financial matters. I talk to the select board chair for years. I've always had these, Dan and I as chair and vice chair. I mean, although Dan only for the last couple of years as vice chair. We have a separate line of communication between the chairs. So
why have a liaison then if you guys are talking?
Because we want to make sure there are no communication issues. Sometimes things don't get, the chair is out of town or the chair forgets to tell, I forget to tell them, they forget to tell me something.
Okay.
So we want somebody who goes to the meeting or, watches the agenda and says, okay, hey, they're talking about this at their meeting. And then if it's something that's important, I may go to the chair and say, hey, what's this about before the meeting? But otherwise, we have somebody there to catch it.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe have 2 people so then they can flip flop.
Can you do it, Vin?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'd have no problems. It's just, it was getting the Zoom. I was getting zoomed out between the governance committee. So you just have to understand their meetings are long, our meetings are long. So it gets to be a little bit. So I don't know. It does.
So maybe to your point, you do 2, and then you can.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I think Ben wants to say something in
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting. I see it. Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say, I would make it the point that you don't even look at the agenda. Every one of our meetings is going to have something about money. So having a finance committee person at every one of our meetings is a good thing. It's been a while since we've had one. And I understand that it is a lot and our meetings can get long. Trust me, I know. But I would say the agenda is aside. I mean, you certainly can talk to us or if you have questions or, things might be brought up if they're particular importance. But every single meeting we have has some financial conversations.
They're constantly trying to spend money.
We have kicked it
That's
to Vin to weigh in on things from time to time. So it has helpful. I think two is a good idea.
Right. And the other thing I would just advise you about that is, and this is true of all liaisons, but particularly important of the select board because their meetings are, obviously televised and very public. When they ask you questions, and Vin will tell you, right, you always have to be very clear as to whether you're reflecting a voted opinion of the finance committee or just your opinion or just what you think the finance committee will think. And I said, just for communication point of view, like you don't want to go in there and say, well, this is what we think. If we haven't discussed it and taken a vote to make an official position, then you should say, well, I think that, I'll bring this to the committee and we'll discuss it. Or you render an opinion, but you make it clear that it's not the opinion of the finance committee. That's very important just to make sure there's no misperception about what we voted. So,
Yep. All right, I'm good.
Okay. So anybody else have anything on the liaison?
We don't have a liaison for the governance committee, at least noted.
Well, we did. We added that. It may not be on the sheet. Again, I don't have it up because I'm taking notes, but.
I don't want to be it, to be clear. I'm just.
I thought okay. I see that he has nothing in the sheet, but we did. I think it was Vin was doing it.
It was Vin, and then Vin got burnt out too between the select board and the governance, and so Dan was great, and Michelle started too, not on purpose, but they just started to. So, but it is important to get it.
So if nobody wants it, I'll flip a coin and put somebody in there. But
I believe Dan was once muted at a governance committee meeting.
I'm sure he was.
Multiple times, I'm sure. But I do not want to be the official liaison and representative of the finance committee, though I am sure I will continue to monitor their transgressions. Sorry, their conversations.
So who does want to do it? Would it help if instead of the select board, there's fresh blood and I sit in on the governance committee? Because I can obviously not attest to anything. Does like a fresh set of ears make a difference and help you?
Okay, well, I'll note that. Well, let me see how it works out, right? Because I said once I do assignments, it may naturally fall. If somebody needs an assignment, I'll give it to them.
My only hesitancy to suggest that would be Jay hasn't been around to understand the whole process.
Yeah,
So
well, I was thinking the same thing, but I was also like, if it turns out that we have a gap there and the assignments are balanced and he fits balance-wise, then I will enlighten him on the background and bring him up to speed. I mean, in the sense that I'll get him trained well to handle them. Yes, Mr. Ahern.
They just, I put it up on the screen the other night. They just kind of checked in with the select board. I think it was this Monday night. To Vin's point, we meet weekly. So in the Holliston Reporter, they kind of outlined what they're looking at over the next few years. And so, again, I mean, their next thing is, looking at, I believe, finance staff, not finance committee, which was what was discussed previously. So I don't know if that impacts it, but that is up on the Holliston Reporter coverage of Monday night's meeting, of where they are based on their last Thursday meeting, I believe.
Yeah.
There's a vacancy now too. So.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
Why, who stepped off?
Tina.
That's what I thought she would.
So okay. Yeah, and the other thing just on that, Travis, is I don't know, obviously the select board has their opinion, but I'm just curious as to why they seem to be doing things backwards. I mean, I don't control the committee, but it seems to me like the 5-person select board plays into almost everything they're planning on discussing. So why they're doing that at the end instead of the beginning is a little bit puzzling to me, but we'll see. As I said, they let them do their work.
Well, no, the question is why.
Liaison to take up.
Well, the other question is why something's on their list that was already in Article 9 that wasn't passed at town meeting, but that's.
Yeah, as I said, that's not an issue now, might be in the future, depending on what they bring forward, but we'll see. Okay, so anything else on liaisons? Okay, then I guess we're done with that topic, and I will update and distribute the.
I did have something about that because the I think like Council on Aging, does it have? Oh, okay, Mark's on that. Never mind. I was going to say that had been 2 people and then Sue left, but Mark's on it. Okay.
Yeah, well, as I said, when we have turnover of experienced people and we get new members, then I shuffle things up to I literally look at what everybody's assignment is and try to balance out the workload and also balance out the, get them started on getting the experience they need and get the new members, the experienced members, not just overburdened with doing everything else. So, so that's why I said you'll see, it won't just be that everything in yellow suddenly gets changed and nothing else changes. There'll probably be some movement that occurs elsewhere as well. So, and then once I come up with the what I think is the final version, I will send it out to everybody and we'll discuss it at our next meeting, just in case somebody looks at it and gets violently ill with their assignments or something. So, okay. Anything else? Last chance on liaisons. Okay. And last on our agenda is the future meeting schedule. Obviously, that becomes a little easier discussion to have since we now have to meet before July 15th. And if you look at the calendar, that will give us, let's see, the 6th or the 13th. Mr. Travis, do we know when we're going to have this issue resolved with solid waste? Like, would the 6th be too soon, or do we just go for the 13th?
If the 13th, you think the group can pull it together again? I mean, if we don't hit a quorum, then we're in that issue with the 15th deadline looming. But I think, just so that you don't have to potentially need to, that might be better if you think you could pull it off. I mean, Zoom helps.
Okay, who on the committee could make a July 13th meeting, keeping in mind that this would be a relatively brief meeting to just do this transfer?
I prefer the 13th.
Okay, so
over Zoom.
Okay. Yeah. So as long as I see 4 hands, which I did, then we're good. So
It's over Zoom, Ken, you said?
yeah, it'll be over Zoom. They just as an update for everybody, in case you weren't following it, the legislature did pass and the governor did sign. If you listen to the new opening statement I had to read, we now have until April 1st, I believe, of next year for remote meetings. Our plan, one thing to keep in mind is we're I think the largest elected board in town.
No, school board is the same size.
What?
School committee is the same size.
Yes, but that still makes us the largest.
Oh, Jesus.
They just,
He wants the IT.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Read
The tiebreaker, right? So anyway, because of that, and because we don't meet in a large library like the school does, we meet in room 105. We've adopted we'll go back to in-person meetings, but I think that the plan was to wait a little while after the May reopening and everything, like give things a chance to see if they really settle down with the new lack of restrictions and so forth before we all start getting together in the same room again.
I like the Zoom.
Yes, Travis.
So you don't have a TA update on here, but I have a couple of things that you're going to want to consider for scheduling over the summer. Do you mind if I kind of just hit some highlights?
Yeah, go ahead. Hit the highlights now, and then
kind of determine. I think obviously this last meeting before 7:15, you're going to want to come in, get in and out. I would assume, but it's up to you. But over the course of the summer, I have a couple of things coming up. One, I know of a couple of things in FY22 already after the budget was settled. The first one being Youth and Family Services, where we planned in the 22 budget for one maternity leave, but now we have a second maternity leave that we're going to have to plan around. I think we have a plan.
We talked about that last time, right?
Yeah.
So
that'll be above the budget. And then also we have a retirement of the highway superintendent. That date is scheduled for December, but my plan would be to bring in the replacement in time that they are fully situated before snow flies, because they do snow and ice. So we may have some overlap. I think it won't require a budget issue, but I want to cover 2 known FY22 issues with you at some point when you're available.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to talk financial policies. Probably will take multiple meetings over the summer.
Yeah.
And then also a sort of schedule to be approaching the 23 budget that I'd like to, just stay ahead of.
Mm-hmm.
Stantec will be reporting to the select board at some point in July on the sidewalk study and some point in August on the water modernization study. So I will get those dates to you as far in advance, because obviously that will have financial impacts. Blair Square RFP was just done and that contract was issued. We're within budget on that. The DPW feasibility study, we did not open those bids. We decided to rebid under 7C to get a better response. So we bid it under 30B, and then the response was it would be better for us if it was under 7C. So we rebid that. 9 Green Street has a presentation to the select board. We're treating it as a public hearing. It doesn't have those requirements, but we're just doing it that way for public interest.
Right.
On 9 Green Street, the PAR group will present to the select board on July 12th. We just put up a survey on 260 Woodland on the future use of that site. I don't have any funding source. I don't have any idea of what that's going to be, but we're looking for resident feedback on it. We already have 288 responses, so there's sizable interest. It's a spot along the rail trail that the town owns. And that's something that whenever, you guys have a schedule that
None of those 288 involve a caboose, please, right?
There's no caboose at the moment, but I got to check. We did allow for feedback. And then lastly, obviously, ARPA steering, Ken will be involved in. The guidance is going to go out to all departments, boards, committees, and actually organizations in town. The way ARPA is, they don't have to technically be in the town. We could, an organization for like small businesses could request something. So we'll send it out as widely as possible. The ARPA steering group has kind of got to, at least by email, to sort of review everything. And then the actual group will start meeting to talk roadmap of ARPA funding soon. Because actually, as of today, it might have been last night, $700,000 hit our bank account of ARPA funding, which is the first half of our first payment. So, I mean, it's happening, it's coming. So all of those things, I mean, obviously take your breaks as you need, but I got some things to discuss.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we add a review of the town administrator's capital plan that he has sent around? Discussion, not a review, a discussion with the town administrator. I know it's sort of the capital.
Okay, so here's what I would say. Given that volume of stuff, I would request that all members of the committee, hopefully within the next day or two, send me your plans for Tuesdays. In other words, like if you're going on vacation, which Tuesdays you're not going to be here, that kind of thing. Send me your availability on the Tuesdays for July and August, and then I'll use that to try to put together a schedule. I'll work with Travis too, because I don't want to. I was going to discuss how much we want to meet, but given what he said, some of these things I need to get the dates on to figure out. I don't want to schedule, discuss it tonight and then find out that the report's not coming in until a week after we meet, that kind of thing. So just give me your availability. I'll work with Travis on trying to put together meetings that will meet his schedule for these various items.
Hey, Travis, I know there's a distribution list. Is there a way that we could have a FinCom calendar so that like at work, we have a shared calendar where all my team puts their time off so that it's just one consolidated snapshot? Do we have that?
We could certainly do that. I mean, Chris I'm sure could set that up relatively easily. I can work with him on that.
Yeah, we actually
usually, other than the summertime when we have this issue, it's usually not a problem, right? We just sit here in a meeting and say everybody's going to be here, and we just schedule a meeting. So
Zoom makes it a lot easier too, because even if I'm, at the beach.
I mean, so everything that you do, obviously, if you have a FinCom email, everything is through Google there, so it would have to be a Google Calendar. Right. The only thing that I find with some people, obviously, is I send a Google Calendar and they use, a Mac at work that, sometimes it's not the greatest thing, but if it can work, Chris can help you with whatever with the group.
Yeah, I'll talk to Chris about it and see if he can set up a calendar. But until that happens, send me your availability. So
got it.
And if he does set it up, then I'll just put it in from what you would put in what you send me. So, okay, but we will meet. So to item 4 on our agenda is basically our next meeting will be July 13th then. So, okay. And I hear the thunder coming my way. I don't know if it's already raining on your side of town, but it's reaching the Sherborne line. So anybody have anything else they want to discuss before we wrap for tonight? Okay, then I will entertain the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Mr. Murphy. Okay, that is not subject to debate, so don't mute yourself, Mark. Proceed to vote. Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Ms. Emer.
Yes.
Mr. Alfred.
Aye, Captain. That's a yes.
Yes. Ms. Sobchat.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
I got to tell you, and I vote yes. So that concludes the Wednesday, June 30th meeting of the Finance Committee. Happy birthday to my mom. And I will see you all on July 13th. But for tonight, we are done. So thank you and good night.
Thank you.